Welcome back to Looking for Work. Excited to have you hopefully ask me, just pummel me with questions, and I could be as helpful as possible. So, if you are early career, looking for that first opportunity to land a job in software engineering, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment in one of the boxes. We're coming across Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, Twitch. So in any of those spots, if you drop a comment while this broadcast is going on live, I will try my best to answer your questions. And again, just excited to be here, hear from you, see if I can be helpful in any way. I do this every week. So Tuesdays, 12 o'clock noon, every single week. You take questions from the general public, people that are thinking about career in tech and you're looking for a way to get started. So super excited about our apprenticeship. The window's are now open. We're doing rolling cohorts. So I think we'll consistently be screening applicants now from now until forever. But I think we've got a good process set up. So should be able to facilitate that. Smita, it's good to see you and hear from you once again. So yeah, go ahead and drop a question in the box. And be more than happy, like I said, take a stab at trying to help out. Saw an article today, last article from Brittany. So shout out to Brittany Mailing, who's heading up to Los Angeles. She's leaving San Diego and heading to LA, but she wrote an interesting piece about it's much more of a engineer's marketplace right now than it is employer. So the phrasing was a little tough on employers, but I think the main point is that it's a good time to be a more experienced software engineer because the market really is in our favor. And I think creates a lot of good opportunities for folks to move into rewarding roles where they're going to really be able to add value for organizations. And for those folks that are entering, might meet some new opportunities, might meet some organizations that are traditionally a little bit more reserved about hiring early career developers, may have a bit more of an appetite, knowing that the market is really, really tight and it's tough to find the more seasoned talent. So there may be some opportunities where companies are willing to invest more in bringing earlier career talent on and providing a pathway for people through good old-fashioned training and learning, right? Bringing someone on, investing in them, and hopefully they can stay with you for the long haul. So I like that. Super excited about the possibilities of that happening. So what questions do you have? Let's check and see if we are live on LinkedIn. Because even though it says we're live on LinkedIn, I don't really trust that. I have seen scenarios where it's not quite working. So yeah, feel free to give me a shout out. Post a little like, comment. It's okay to share this. It's okay to thumb it up. You can go on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. If you're seeing this afterwards post, then again, feel free to shoot me an email. You can send me a question via email or just jump online every Tuesday. Don't be shy. Man, I'm impressed by New Rocket. Shout out to Todd and Nathan doing big things over there. They just made Inc. 5000. So we've got quite a few apprentices that started our career here and have moved on, successful careers at ServiceNow through New Rocket, or ServiceNow careers at New Rocket. And boy, amazing stuff. Similarly, Genus, super excited. They're doing big things in the ServiceNow partner space. So shout out to Courtney and Etta and our folks, Laurel and Eric, breaking into ServiceNow. Super proud of everybody. So again, I'm here. I'm going to hang out for a little bit. If I don't get any more questions today, that's good news. It means everybody's got jobs. I like to hear that. I like the sound of silence if that means everybody's working right now. Their heads down. But if you're trying to find that first job, I know there was somebody on we were on Clubhouse last night. So there was somebody that was an early career developer, and she was looking to get into cyber, and it was tough. I think cyber is one of those areas where we hear a lot. There's a lot of attention. There's a lot of talk about the needs and opportunities in cyber. It's a tough place to break into, right? Because you will probably need to have some transferable skills and some reason why someone might want to invest the time to bring you up to speed in cyber, because it's generally it's going to require usually some coding skills, a lot of other skills. Depends on if you're in a functional role or not. If you're in a functional role, then it may not be as technical and may not require as much coding ability, but usually they want people that can script. They want people that really understand how systems work, and that's just hard to do for early career folks. It usually results in them finding people in that cyberspace that have existing experience working on the back end, working as full stack developers, and want to transition more into that space from either web development or embedded development or some other more technical role, and then sort of moving into that space. Or starting on the other side, starting in a completely functional role, admin, and really understanding the tools and the processes and some of the technique. And a lot of times folks just get lucky and someone decides that they want to take you under their wing and bring you into an organization and provide support, because it's a very, most shops are doing it their own way, their own processes. So it's not something where it's like you can just take this off the shelf training and be ready for a role inside organizations. Usually the organization has to bring you in and provide some level of training for an extended period of time before you're usually up to speed. So that's why for early career developers, it's kind of hard to break into cyber. So there's a lot of talk about it, but my money is break into engineering in general and then pivot and transition into the things that are more interesting, like blockchain or quantum computing, cybersecurity, DevOps. You can pivot and transition into all of those. Like going straight in from a different career, different background, it's an uphill battle. It's tough. It's not the easiest route. All right, still no questions. I find that hard to believe. And there's nobody out there that has questions about the job search process. But again, there is a labor shortage. So if we don't get questions, we might have to do something different. We might have to not do this live and instead maybe invite some guests and see if that would be more entertaining. So we certainly could do that. So drop me a comment. Let me know if you think there's a guest that you'd like to hear from, somebody that might be supportive or speak to the needs of an audience that's more early career. Like, what questions do you have about talent development? What questions do you have about what you should be doing to prepare for the next phase of your career? I think all of those things could be interesting, and a lot of folks in space that could provide insight. If you want to hear more about diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, I can find plenty of folks that want to talk about that, plenty of folks in my network that are concerned with those issues. I'm just super open to seeing if there's an opportunity for us to help folks. Antoine Matthews, all right. I will be on the lookout. Thank you, Marcus. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Any thoughts about, either guests or other topics that might be helpful? I know I'm about waist deep in resumes. If anybody has questions about resumes, I can tell you some of the things I'm seeing that I don't like. And for the most part, it's not major, but I'm getting a lot of resumes without enough contact information to understand where somebody is, right? Like a city and a state. I know we're doing remote distributed work, but it is still very relevant to know where you are, because even if an organization is open to hiring remote developers, they might not hire from specific states. Remember, the way that payroll works is you have to be set up state by state. So if you're an organization and you operate in 50 states, there could be a set of rules that apply to most of the states, and then there's a set of rules that apply to this state and a set of rules that apply to that state. And so even in this market where you're looking for distributed work, it's relevant. It's important for you to say what your home state is, because they might just not be able to hire from that particular state. They might say, well, we're open to remote employees, but we cannot hire from this, and this state. So if you don't put it on there, your resume might get set aside until they can figure out, like, where do you live? Because it is a relevant criteria that they might have. Jim asked a question. Nice. Jim. So the inevitable question, when am I going to get hired? There is not a way to prepare for it. So this is good, because I get this occasionally when we're hiring, but I think a lot of folks that are looking for an opportunity anywhere have these kinds of questions about, like, what specifically should I be doing differently to get an offer from you? The best way to phrase that is not how do you prepare for an opportunity with us, but just how do you prepare for an opportunity in general? And that way, it's not like you're trying to figure out, like, what do you want in this interview and trying to, like, game the system, but instead you're trying to figure out, like, okay, this is the kind of role that I'm looking for. What are things that I should be doing to prepare for this type of role? Not me, the role. So I would say for us, we're really looking for intrinsic qualities that I don't think there's a great way for you to prepare in a short period of time, right? Folks that are well-rounded in terms of their resourcefulness, diligence, accountability, grit. These are traits that you can certainly work on and improve over time, but not the type that I can say, hey, spend a week preparing X, Y, and Z so that you'll be a stronger candidate for any job. But I look at our opportunity as the folks we're looking for are going to be good candidates regardless of where they apply. And so, and keep in mind, because we're an apprenticeship, we're kind of hiring for the next opportunity. We're hiring to bring someone to our organization, help upskill them, but then really to get them into another organization. So we're trying to identify candidates that we believe we can add a lot of value and make sure we can prepare them with the extra skills that they're going to need to be successful after they leave. We're thinking about how do we help them transition. So hopefully that helps, Jim. Not sure if that answers the question that might be on your mind, which is, when am I going to get a job offer? And so there's really not much I can say to help you specifically prepare for a behavioral-based interview, because the goal really is to identify, are you the best candidate, and can you benefit the most from this opportunity with this kind of organization? Other employers might be looking for, skills that are more relevant to the stack that they work with, right? So they might want you to have a little more technical expertise. It's not really important for us. If someone doesn't have enough technical expertise to get into our apprenticeship program, then we would suggest that they either go through the pre-apprenticeship program through Workforce Partners or other resources for them to prepare and be in a better position to hit the ground running in the apprenticeship program. So what else? What other questions do you guys have? If there are none, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to head to lunch. We'll lunch it up. So yeah, so I mentioned resumes. So while we're waiting for more questions, if anybody has a question, feel free to drop it in the comments. If I don't see any questions, then we'll probably wrap a little early. But what I'm seeing on a lot of resumes that, again, is a little weird is a lack of consistent, like, contact information. So make sure you put your phone number. Always use a burner phone. That way, as soon as you're done with your job search, you can turn that Google Voice number off so that you don't have to get annoying phone calls for the next, 6 months while you're on the job of people saying, hey, are you still looking for work? And you're like, no, I got a job. So I'd have a number that you can, turn off once you stop looking for a job. That's, like I said, super annoying that you'll keep getting calls once you put your resume out there. So you want to have a phone number. You want to have your city and state. Again, state is the more important piece of locational information so people can understand if they are able to hire you in that particular state. And then really, again, strongest to your weakest attributes that you feel like demonstrate your preparedness for the position. And you might want to have a couple resumes that you might have for the different types of roles, especially if you're looking for maybe a more technical role, as well as maybe a more leadership role, right? So maybe you're looking at like team lead or senior software engineer. If you're open to both opportunities, definitely craft 2 resumes. On the cover letters, oh man, we're getting a lot of cover letters too. If you, excuse me, if you are provided an opportunity to upload a cover letter, always upload a cover letter, right? Because it is going to help you to tell some of those intangible parts of your narrative about why you're the best fit for a particular opportunity. So don't pass that up. That's your chance to talk about things that a lot of people try and sandwich into their resume at the very top. They try and say, my goal is to get a job where I can grow a lot, and I have, and then they list a bunch of attributes. I have the ability to learn fast and hit the ground running. And like, don't try and sandwich all that on your resume, all those platitudes. Instead, craft a narrative in your cover letter about why this is the right time for you to be in this opportunity. This is what it's going to mean and the impact it's going to have on your life. And these are the skills that you're going to bring to the table. This is your 30, 60, 90 plan. Whatever it is that you're going to put in there is that's your message to sort of say, this is me as a whole person, as much as I can describe in one page. And then, here's my CV, here's my resume with more of the intent, or more of the like details and like the timeline of what I've been doing over the last 5-10 years. Work history, education, relevant experience, projects, etc. That all belongs in the resume. Cover letter is your chance to introduce yourself, grab at the heartstrings, and say, this is me as a whole person, and these are some of the intangibles I bring to the table that don't really fit into that timeline on the resume. So not at the top of your goal, but in the cover letter. You got a whole, 3-4 paragraphs that you could use to describe that capacity you have to make an impact at their organization. And that's how I should feel. Like, I should feel like, man, I want to have a conversation with this woman because she's the perfect candidate for this particular role. That's how you want me to feel after reading your cover letter. Not to whom it may concern. No. If I know who you're sending it to, send it to that person's name so that they know you took time, you researched who's going to be looking at this thing, right? So it's those little details that just take a little bit longer, and that's why I usually recommend you're going to apply to 10 jobs a week max, so you have enough time to research and find out, who am I sending this letter to? What team am I going to potentially be on? Finding those internal champions inside of the organization. All of those things are going to be critical. And if instead you're just blindly applying to jobs, getting your resume out as fast as possible, then you're wasting a lot of effort. And frankly, I think it's going to be really hard for you to convince someone that they should invest in bringing you into the organization, getting you up to speed, and sort of waiting out when you become sort of a impact player and you're making a contribution to the team. Because for a long time, usually when a new person comes in, especially if they're early career developer, that takes a lot of additional time and training and effort. And so the organization really wants to know from the very beginning, when am I going to be in the black and I'm going to be gaining every day and getting a return on the investment. If you can't articulate that during the screening process, it's going to be really hard for someone to make the decision to invest in you. And that's how you should think about it. Don't think about like, do they like me? Did they respond to me? Don't think about any of that kind of stuff. Just focus on making contact, making connections with people, and then having meaningful conversations about what you can contribute. And the fact that if they invest in you, you're going to be a strong contributor in the coming weeks, months, and years. Any other questions? We had a couple. That's good. I like that. We do this every week too. So if you missed this week and you're seeing it on replay, please come back and join us every Tuesday at 12 o'clock noon Pacific. If there are no other questions, I'm going to end early. There's one. Whew. It's a variation of the same question, but I'll take it on. Setting yourself up for success during the interview. I'd say try to be relaxed, be yourself, authentic. We really want to have a organic conversation. There's some structure to it, but we want to know from the individual where are they at and what would their capacity to benefit be from the program. And then we're trying to identify if the amount of additional either soft skills or additional technical skills the person needs for us, in our opinion, to be ready to transition into a permanent role at an enterprise organization is something that we feel confident that we can help and coach that person to. And if we feel like not quite there, then we'll share that with the candidate and say, now's not the right time. Here's what we would suggest in the meantime. So there's not much that you can do to be successful other than being transparent and vulnerable and just share enough so that we can kind of really do a good assessment of where you are as a candidate. Because the stronger and the better we have of, okay, this is what we have for us to start working with, the easier it's going to be for us to be realistic and create a game plan that we can execute on and get from where we are to where we want to be, which is we want everybody to get a job. So the more realistic we can make our game plan for that success, then the easier it is to execute. So it's not really, I love these variations of kind of the same question, which is like, what do I need to do to get an offer? What do I need to get hired? And it's the same thing that you would do in any other interview. It's your opportunity to pitch yourself. That's hopefully a sufficient answer or non-answer. Any other questions? One last piece I'll add to that, Angela, is that, as I mentioned to Jim, rather than asking about preparing for an opportunity with CC Careers or the interview, I think it's helpful to really look at this through the lens of what is the best feedback or suggestions that I can share for any technical interview, right? For any opportunity that's similar to creating coding careers or elsewhere. Because there's nothing, I think, unique or special about the process that we use, other than we really want to understand and assess where a candidate is. And so it kind of, when a candidate asks that question, it kind of leaves the impression that there's somehow the candidate is trying to get advance, sort of a copy of the test ahead of time, or trying to get ahead of the interview. And the reality is, it's the same thing that you're going to interview, or same way I would just interview anywhere. And there's nothing special that you need to do to prepare for this particular one, especially since it's not really a technical interview. We might ask some technical questions, but it's merely to gauge where someone is and assess their skill. In many cases, you're being assessed to determine if you have the minimum technical skill. And in our case, it would only mean if you didn't have enough skill for the apprenticeship that we would recommend the pre-apprenticeship or alternative paths until you're ready to come into the apprenticeship. So, any other questions? All right. If there are no other questions, we'll end a little early. I will be here again next Tuesday, same time, 12 p.m. Pacific, and we'll hang out, answer questions. Again, the focus is on just helping folks make that transition to a first career in tech. And I've been fortunate to have a pretty successful career and help lots and lots of other people transition. So I'm happy to answer these questions. And if anybody has any questions, they can either put them into the comment box, or you can shoot me an email, and any that I get throughout the week, I can gather and I'll make sure I cover them during the next session. If you want to go back, the YouTube channel has a lot of the recordings of the previous ones that we've done, so could be constructive, could be helpful if you're currently struggling in the job search. So my guess is, if you're out there, you're probably getting a higher degree of success than previously. Market is pretty good right now, so still got to bring your A game, but I think there's a lot of opportunities right now for early career developers, so that is a plus. All right, see you next week.